Welcome back to the channel, guys. In this video, we are going to be going over the top 7 items that unlock multiple builds. Now, what I mean by this is if you get one of them, it will be the best in slot for several builds, while it could also be a cheaper, close second option in several other builds. Now, before we start, feel free to leave me a comment below telling me what you think some of the items on this list are. Or alternatively, if there's any item that you think deserves on spot on this list more, let me know that as well. With that out of the way, let's get into it. Starting things off at number 7, we have the Griffon's Eye. Now, this is a unique item, and it does give negative lightning resistance to enemies, increased lightning skill damage, 1 all skills, and faster cast rate, making it a best in slot item for builds such as Lightning Javazons, Trap Sins, Lightning Sorceresses, and Fist of Heaven Paladins. The reason it's not any higher on this list is purely because it's specific to lightning builds only, and nothing else will consider it a best in slot item. Coming in at number 6, we have the Spirit Monarch Shield. Now, this is very easy to obtain. The Monarch base can be slightly more expensive, so I'd say somewhere in the mid runes. But the runes for the rune word itself are very cheap, and because of how low they are, the value is absolutely insane, getting 2 to all skills and up to 35% faster cast rate, as well as 3 different resistances of 35%, faster hit recovery, vitality. All of these are great mods to have, and it makes it a best in slot item for most caster builds, with the exception of paladins that do prefer to use their own shields. But that earns it a spot on this list, and it definitely is a very powerful shield to have on any of the caster builds. At number 5, we have the Harlequin Crest, also commonly known as the Shaco. Now, this helmet does give 2 to all skills, significant life and mana increase, damage reduction, magic find, and 2 to all attributes. The only reason it's not any higher on this list is because it does get outshined in a few builds, especially lightning ones by Griffon's Eye. Cold builds get outshined by Nightwing's Veil. Other than that, though, it is a best in slot for most caster builds, as well as magic find builds in general. And the fact that all these stats are useful stats to have, regardless of your build, earns it the number 5 spot on this list. The number 4 spot on this list will be going to Arachnid's Mesh. As long as you're playing a caster in D2R or Diablo 2 in general, you will want this as your best in slot belt, purely because no other belt offers both 1 to all skills as well as faster cast rate. The only caster build that might make an exception to not use this build is probably a Blizzard Sorceress that could alternate for Snow Clash, but otherwise, as long as you will benefit from faster cast rating, you will be using this as a best in slot item, earning it the number 4 spot on this list. If you are playing a melee build, you are most certainly using a Grief rune word. And that being said, there are niche builds that don't use it, and there are other alternative options. However, it is typically one of the best melee weapons in the game, and thus it is used in most physical melee builds. And the reason is because it's an extremely low cost, first of all, for how powerful it is. It takes only a low rune, which is a decently high rune, but it only takes 1, and the Mal rune, which is a mid rune, the cost is extremely low to make one. And the bonuses are insane. The attack speed, I believe, up to 40% damage, or up to 400, ignores target's defense, damage to demons, which, spoiler alert, most of the mobs in this game are either demon or undead, and bosses are typically all demons. Not to mention Deadly Strike, prevent monster heal, as well as life and mana after the kill. More than earn it the number 3 spot on this list. Coming in at number 2, we have Call to Arms. Now, this may be a little bit self-explanatory, but as long as you're playing any build in D2, this will almost always be your weapon swap. And because of how powerful Battle Command and Battle Orders are, and the fact that you get access to a different class's buffs for the cost of an Ohm rune and a base, is really, really good. Now, Battle Orders will give you an increased life and mana, and depending on how high you can get that skill up to, more than double. And then Battle Command also increases your skills and stats, making it the ideal weapon swap to have for every single build, as it does make your build a lot safer. You won't necessarily be unlocking a new build for you, but it will improve every single build in the game just by having access to those buffs. And therefore, it earns its number 2 spot on this list. Now, last but not least, at number 1, we have the Enigma. Now, this is a slightly pricier item, as both Jaw and Bear are the 2 most expensive runes in the game, but it's definitely worth its value. Due to all skills, the faster run walk, increased defense, bonus to strength, max life, damage reduction, crazy amount of magic find on top of it all, and it gives you access to teleport. Now, make no mistake, there is no method of traveling in Diablo 2 that comes as close to teleport. And the fact that it gives you access to it that only a sorcerer should have now can be done in every single class easily makes it get the number 1 spot on this list. And it's gotten to the point where like every single caster build will use this. Sorceress will use this armor despite already having teleport just because the other stats are so good. Other characters that don't use an Enigma will have one in their inventory or the cube in their inventory to swap out just to get where they're going faster and then switch back to their normal items. That's how good this item is. And having it definitely changes your playstyle as well because now you can have access to crazy mobility that you just did not have before. Therefore, it's the number 1 item for unlocking multiple builds in Diablo 2 Resurrected. That is going to be it for the top 7 items that unlock multiple builds within Diablo 2 Resurrected. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, my social media information will be in the video description below. If you want to get a hold of me or talk to me, I'll always try to get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.